let's continue my binge of the most popular Netflix show of all time by looking at Stranger Things Season 2. And just in case you haven't already caught up with this show by this point, this review will contain some spoilers, so just in case you've been fairly warned, let's go into the Upside Down. It's now fall of 1984, and young Will Byers finds himself the target of the Upside Down as a large tentacled entity called the Mind Flayer soon terrorizes the citizens, and it possesses Will, and it threatens to take over Hawkins, Indiana for all eternity. So this draws back his mother Joyce and Sheriff Hopper, along with Will's friends, and the whole group from Season 1, along with California newcomer Maxine Mayfield and a missing 11, all must join forces once again to prevent the threat from increasing. So let me just get this out of the way. Yeah, I'm really freaking digging this show, guys. Season 2 was an absolute blast, and here's my big reason why this season works so well for me. Season 1 had a lot of exposition. It had to establish what the Upside Down was. You were learning about all these characters, and you were exploring the Upside Down along with them. Season 2 doesn't have to worry about all the exposition. Now the Duffer brothers can really experiment with these characters, and they can really start having fun, while also retaining all of those amazing 1980s aesthetics that are carried over from the first season. And I also feel like Season 2 feels wholly original in and among itself. My big issue with Season 1 is that it almost felt too derivative of stuff that I've seen before, like E.T. and the Goonies and so on and so forth. This time around, Season 2 feels like its own narrative. Sure, people can make comparisons to Alien. Paul Reiser is in this season, but as a whole, despite the Alien references in here, this feels like a wholly original story set in the 1980s. And I feel like the big thing that works about this season is where these characters go and how they build and how they learn from their past. The big culprit here, Steve Harrington. Tomas, shout out to you, my friend. He called this the greatest babyface turn in television history. And damn, it's hard to argue at that point, man. Steve Harrington is slowly starting to become one of my favorite characters in the series, and I can't believe I'm saying that. In Season 1, this is a guy that was set up as a bag jock, but now here he is going Negan on these aliens' asses. He is saving all the young friends from all these dastardly evil aliens coming to eat your face and all that. Joe Keery is such a badass in this season as well. Not only does the action and the CGI pick up from the first season, but it gives us so many amazing, simple character moments that I really, really appreciated. Such as Hopper and Joyce sharing a cigarette outside of the school dance, and they're starting to become a lot closer. David Harbour and Winona Ryder, both fantastic. Ryder especially, I feel like, is giving the best work of her entire career in Stranger Things. You also have Natalia, Dyer, and Charlie Heaton as Nancy and Jonathan becoming romantically involved in this season. And yeah, you can somewhat argue that Nancy is starting to get Stockholm Syndrome because, yeah, Jonathan was taking those pervy pictures of her in one of those first few episodes. But I don't know what it is. The way these two play it off, this dynamic just works for me. And this could have very easily played into the sappy, dramatic territory, but these screenwriters wisely play this for comedy. I can't believe I'm saying this. It's actually a pretty endearing connection that they're sharing. Now, I will admit that Jonathan is not as interesting as he was in Season 1. He's not as enigmatic as he was. And I think that comes with the territory, with his little brother finally being pulled back into the fold. And that, I feel like, is going to be Season 2's biggest drawback for me, aside from one other thing, which I definitely want to talk about more. But I feel like the sense of urgency was gone. Season 1 was all about saving young Will Byers and making sure that he wasn't trapped inside this otherworldly place anymore. Now that he's back, yeah, we're dealing with like the Exorcist qualities where he's possessed and everything like that. And Joyce especially has to make some really riveting character choices about what she has to do to her son, especially to get this possessed being out of him. And that stuff is really riveting. But the stakes don't feel as high as they were in the preceding season. Now, while I'm on the topic of Joyce, I feel like I should talk about one of my favorite additions to this series, and this season specifically, because if you know what I'm talking about, he does not last past this season. But Sean Astin being brought back into the 1980s aesthetic, you might remember that he is the lead of The Goonies, one of my favorite movies of all time. So it really warmed my heart to see him come into the fold here. And his character was just so endearing. Like, he could have very easily rubbed you the wrong way, but he had just the right amount of charm to him, and just the right amount of likability to him. Yeah, you could see him stepping in as a father figure with all of his terrible puns and everything like that. Plus, This dude works at Radio Shack. Man, is that a nostalgic flex. Let's also talk about our main ragtag group of kids. Mike Wheeler is basically all depressed about Eleven being gone the entire time. And yeah, these young guys are starting to hit puberty, and they're gonna start to have feelings for other girls and everything like that. This new character, Maxine, played by Sadie Sink, is brought into the fold, and yeah, she is great in this series. This character is really, really cool on paper. I feel like that she is a combination of both female characters of The Breakfast Club, and you have a really intriguing cocktail that I'm very, very curious to keep exploring, especially along with the addition of Daiquiri Montgomery into this show, who is, oh man, is he so zealous. You know, Daiquiri Montgomery has been the popular choice to play the Human Torch in the MCU, and you can kind of see why. He's very much a hothead in this show. And even though I very much enjoyed Season 2 overall, yeah, it's certainly not going to have the urgency of Season 1, as I've alluded to, but there is one episode that I feel like was completely unnecessary. That being episode 7, which was exploring Elle's backstory, which I can certainly get behind. But it was done almost in, like, I don't want to call it lazy, but it kind of was if you really think about the episode full-fledged. Like, if you're doing a binge of Stranger Things and you skipped this one episode, you probably would miss absolutely nothing. Aside from some typically great work from Millie Bobby Brown, but you can find that in every other episode in this season. Which brings me to my worst possible fear coming true. The kiss that Mike and Elle shared during the middle school dance. Now, my parents have told me that they stopped watching the show around the end of Season 2 because they felt like the show was doing what they called jumping the shark. And I feel like this is what they were talking about. And this is, I mean, part of me gets it. But at the same time, did this relationship really need to become romantic? I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to see how this plays out. But I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not the biggest fan of it. But the positives of this show far outweigh the negatives. I'm loving the small character moments here. I love the change they made with Steve Harrington. I love the advice that he's giving to Dustin just walking on the train tracks. God, I didn't even talk about Gaten Matarazzo all that much. Man, is he good. I love the dynamic that he shares with Dart the little alien and the comedy that comes when he sees how big the Dart has gotten in a very short time span. Man, I really hope no kitties were harmed in the making of Stranger Things. Also, a really great products placement for Three Musketeers, which I am a huge fan of. Honestly, even though this season does have some negative qualities to it, the positives here are just so good. And I can't wait to start binging Season 3 and talking about it with you guys. But for right now, I'm going to give Season 2 an A-. One really weak episode and a lost sense of urgency makes this the weaker of the two seasons I've binged so far. But I can't wait to keep going. Let me know what you guys thought of Stranger Things down in the comment section below. Who is your favorite character? What's been your favorite episode so far? Sound off with all those fun thoughts and much more all down there, because I'm having a great time starting the discussion with you guys. Getting to interact with you makes things all the more fun. If you're a new viewer, you are all invited to the party as well. Do consider becoming a subscriber. Hit that big red notification bell as well. That way you don't miss a second more of the action. And do me a favor and smash the like button, because if you enjoy watching movies and all that good stuff, talking about movies, this is the place to be, and likes will only help this channel continue to grow. Guys, stay tuned for more exciting content hitting this channel very, very soon. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much for your continued support. And with all that being said, Back Talk, commence.